Ironman involves a 3.8k swim, 180k bike ride, and a 42-kilometre run. So no walk in the park, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, mate, I can't even. I've done one marathon and I did it this year, and I just can't get my head around doing because you've competed in Hawaii as well. You've competed on the Big Island, and that is something that is a phenomenal achievement. Like, you just explain what the Hawaii. It's invitation only, and it's
so everyone has to qualify for professional to age groupers. So when the race first started back in 1978, there was, I think, 20 athletes that started on the island of Oahu, and they did the rough water swim and down in Waikiki. Then they rode around Oahu, the island, and then they ran the Honolulu Marathon. That's how they started. They wanted the best athlete was a swimmer, biker, runner. And then I think it lasted there a few years, and then they shifted it over to the Big Island of Hawaii, Kailua Kona. And then, the race started there sort of a couple of years. I think it was in February, but then they shifted to the date of October every year. So it was always around the full moon in that time. So, sometimes it varied for many years where it would be, early October, then it would be late October. But now it's always, I think, the second Saturday of October every year. And I was first competed there in 2000, and my last race was 2 years ago, 2018. So
wow.
All those years was being as a professional, but I think probably the next time I go back will be as an age group, I'm sure.
Yeah. What is it? Is it really the hardest of them all?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the elements, the conditions is just incredible. The water temperature is 27 degrees. The outside air temperature can, probably at 6 a.m. when we start, it's probably 25, 26 degrees, and then
far out
onto the, as soon as you get out of the water, it's already lifted, in that hour to probably 28 degrees, and then on the bike you're riding through the lava fields of Kona up to Harvey, which is 90 kilometers away, and then you turn around and you have going up there, the winds are just absolutely severe, and then coming back you've got the same sort of winds, and then the heat. There's two massive volcanoes on the island. One is really the biggest volcano in the world when you take it from sea level, Mauna Kea, and so these winds travel through these mountains, and when you get a severe day, it's quite extreme. And I've been lucky enough to be there on those tough days. I think 2001 was one of those days where it was just incredibly hard, and people were getting blown off their bikes everywhere, and and then onto the run, and you're into the lava fields again, and you run out to the airport, or a place called the Energy Lab, which is renowned for temperatures of sort of 40 to 45 degrees. If you stuck a thermometer or an egg on the pavement, it would boil within you'd fry an egg very, very quickly. So the temperatures are just extreme in the Hawaiian sun. So it's one of those races that you have the best competition in the world, and you also have the hardest elements in the world. So that brings out the best in everyone, and that's why it's the world championship, and extremely hard.
So I did my yoga teacher training on the Big Island in Hawaii, and the lava. I was actually there about a month before or a couple of weeks before the fissure erupted, and then it wiped out a lot of the south of the island. But
yes.
I think the most the obvious thing for me was just the scenery, and there's a different energy about Hawaii as well. Definitely, there's a different energy about the island. I remember getting on a plane and someone telling me, I was sitting next to a lady from the island, and I was like, I've just come from Oahu on Honolulu, and it's very American, very, very American. Yeah. It's like Miami. And then I went over to Big Island. She was like, there's a different feel. The energy, we believe, the lava brings out energy into the people, and it's completely different. And I was like, this woman's crazy. This woman's on something, and very, very out there. But got there, and I just landed, and I was like, this feels different. This is a different world to be in. And the scenery, nothing can beat it. Nothing can beat it. The water. I think the only thing that was disappointing, and you'll definitely, I imagine, see this being in New Zealand as well, is the the plastic pollution in the water. Like that is that's something that I guess we can actually talk about later on, but it's something that is it's really sad to see that island that is so beautiful have like that amount of plastic, and it doesn't take much for us to start cleaning it up.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a problem around the world now. The plastic and all that, and the amount of the people that drink out of go and buy 24 bottles of water, and it's just we in New Zealand we just don't do it because our water out of the tap is just so good, and you don't think about going down to the supermarket and buying water bowls. You just don't need it. So, but there's a problem around the world. But you would have seen when you come off that airplane. It's just like landing on the moon. It's quite incredible, the landscape. Just the lava rock. Yeah, and then you go down to Kailua Kona, and it can be just so. The next part you can be in such greenness and almost tropical rainforest up near the top of the mountain and around that southern end, but the northern end is very, very desolate.
Yeah, how are you dealing with all the mileage that you have to be putting into what you do? You're currently in lockdown. We've just come into lockdown here in Australia. New Zealand probably went in about maybe a week ago. You went into a pretty heavy lockdown. Yep. How are you managing with that? Like, must be a caged animal.
It's pretty tough. I mean, the next, or hopefully the next week it's going to be pretty tough because I went out running this morning and 2K into my run, I felt my calf go, so it could be no running for maybe I don't know, maybe a week or so. But I'm hoping I haven't done too much damage. But it's just been a matter of I got on the mountain bike after that and just went for a spin around the streets, and we got stayed pretty close to our home, so it's either just on the mountain bike close to home or just getting on Swift and pedaling away with thousands and thousands of other people that are doing the virtual stuff at the moment. So it's pretty much locked down.
Have you struggled with injury much in your career? Because you've been looking at the competitions you've had, you've been fairly consistent. 11 times New Zealand.
12.
I'm 12 times. Sorry, 12 times. I'm 12 times 11 Ironman champion. But that's 12 years at least of consistent training. So have you been injured much throughout it?
No, I've been very, very lucky over my time. It was only probably the last sort of maybe 7-8 years where things have, as I've come into, my 40s, and I cannot stop now. I have to keep my body moving, and it's the big thing, I think, as we age. As soon as you stop, your tendons and muscles start shortening up, and that's where your yoga, your physio treatments, your massage, they become so much more important when you're an older athlete. So it's keeping the body moving, keeping it ticking over. So I can, back in when I was in my 30s, early 20s, I'd have 3 weeks off after every Ironman and do nothing, and then a week later, that first week I'd be running, not a problem. And if I did that now, I'd pull a calf within the first kilometre if I went out. So now it's just ticking the body over and being very, very cautious. But as we get older, just little niggles take that much longer as well. So it is a lot harder now. So you have to be very, very careful as an older athlete.
That for me, I think, was probably the most, when I first found you and started looking into what you've done, to find your age at what you're doing and the numbers that you're racking up. It's phenomenal. I'm inspired by it, just being a 30-year-old. But what so you were saying you've now learned a little bit more as you've gotten older of how to change what you did. Probably can't be as reckless as you were. I know I was definitely, I don't know if your experience was the same. You go through your 20s and you're invincible. You're like, yep, I'm okay. Yep. I'm just going to tear through everything. I'm just going to keep going. And then I think I heard someone say, it's like when you hit 30, you wake up and you go, all right, okay, now I'm not invincible. I'm going to have to do some work here. What's it been like for you? What's been sort of like your secret sauce for
I think
sustaining?
I've been very, very lucky. I think, 20s, 30s, as I said, it was only until those later years in my late 30s and And yeah, probably the last couple of years, man, I just cannot afford to take time off because, well, yeah, after Ironman WA, Western Australia in December, I tore my calf, 21K into the run and had to pull out. And then it took me 7 weeks to recover from that. So again, probably not being not being smart enough, I tried to come back too soon. And again, it would go too early, and then I come back again. And so it's, when you do a micro tear like that, it's pretty much 2 to 3 weeks. Don't do anything. Just let it recover, strengthen it, stretch it, and take care of it, and then slowly, begin the routine again. But the brain still thinks I'm a 20-year-old, and so it's quite annoying. And I'm one of those people that hate being injured. I just love to. I'd love to run, and when you can't run, it's I love running trails. I just love trails around, and it's fantastic when you're fit and healthy and you can get out there and do it.
Which discipline is your favorite?
Definitely my running. Yeah, I really enjoy it. When I was young, I wasn't a very good runner. It was my weakness. My biking was my strength. But now, when I turned to Ironman, it was the opposite. Running ended up being my strength, and I can probably say I'll be one of the top top runners in the Ironman for the last sort of 15, 20 years. So it's it's always nice to have your strongest discipline at the end of an Ironman, and try and run through part of the field. Yeah.
What sort of mileage are you when you're on a good sort of training week, not injured, not resting, and you're probably going into peak training for a competition? What sort of mileage are you racking up? Are you having to stagger it as well?
Yes, so it's normally probably around that 120 kilometres. Probably my biggest ever week is I've done, I think, 130 kilometres. So
that's on foot.
Yes, yep.
Just so on foot.
Yep. So when you take in, some weeks, you're riding 500, 800 Ks and swimming 20 to 25 Ks. It's a 40-hour week. And,
that's insane. Like, so how do you manage that? Like, how do you manage? Do you go? Is there a way you go like bike first, then run, or do you try to do it like the races will be?
It differs. You always swim in the mornings. We start at 6 a.m. So you're always having that first. I'll do normally 5 swims a week, and then maybe it's followed by a run. Every day is different, but that run or bike can differ. But I'll always swim first on those days that I have a swim, and then the bike and running is just mixed up. Sort of my Wednesdays and Saturdays are my big days where I'm doing a brick session. So it can be anywhere from a 6 to 7 hour brick bike run session. And, when you're in those peak mileage of training for an Ironman, they can be big solid days.
And what you said you changed your recovery and you sort of evolved it as you got older. What sort of stuff are you doing now? Like, is there anything that is something that you found that works perfectly for you? Is there anything in the world of Ironman that is kind of like a staple, or is it really individual?
Yeah, I think it's very, very individual, but you do have to. It's like putting, good petrol in a Ferrari. If you put, you've got to fuel it well, and if you put shit in it, then it's going to break down. And if you don't look after that body, it's going to continue to break down. So massage has been a massive part of my training, or my recovery. Your Normatec boots that we use afterwards as well. Physio, pretty much in my big weeks, I'd be seeing my physio sort of twice a week, and then strength work as well. When you get into those late 30s, 40s, you start, your body is not, it's not as strong as what it used to be. So looking after it in the gym and strengthening those parts of the week, then definitely, you've got to do that as well. And so I'm in the gym, well, not at the moment because everything's closed, but I'll be in the gym some 2 or 3 times a week as well. So you're not just swim, biking, and running. It's the recovery side of it as well takes a lot of effort. And when you are injured, man, it is time consuming. So you know, that's why I hate being injured, because it takes a long time to come right. And you know, when you are injured, it's probably 5 to 7, 8 hours of time seeing the physio or getting treatments, and so it's not enjoyable when you are.
Have you tended to be more sort of muscle tears with your injuries, or have you had sort of any catastrophic ones? I don't want to linger on injuries too much, because I feel they're such negative things. But like,
mainly calf, calf, soleus, plantar fascia. Had that for but that was, I could always train through that. But when a calf goes, that's it. There's no running. You can jog down to the letterbox and it'll go again. So it's pretty much game over when I do get a calf injury, and that's it. It's just swimming and biking and strength work.
And has triathlon and Ironman been in your family? Is it something that you?
No. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Interesting. So when I started, back in 1987, the sport was, very, very new. It was just starting off, really, and we were lucky. With Rick Wells and Aaron Baker, who were world champions. They just won the world championships in Perth, Australia that year, and so they were pretty much household names. So the sport was on a high. There was races every single weekend. All the beer sponsorship. There was massive sponsorship from beer companies, and so there was prize money, and it was probably better then than it is now. We have 4 races in Auckland over the summertime, and back when I was a 15, 16, 17-year-old, there would probably be 20 to 30 races over the summer.
Wow.
So there's just so many more restrictions, and it's so much. It's more expensive to put on races for race directors, and compliance and traffic management plays a massive part. You might cost you $5,000 in traffic management fees to put on a triathlon. So the guys that do put on races, they've got to make sure they get a certain amount of entries, otherwise they're out of pocket. So it's not as easy as it sounds. Back in the day, you'd get a couple of volunteers, stick them here, there, and everywhere, and it was easy. But it's a lot tougher.
So if you didn't have this in your family, if this wasn't in your family, then because a lot of people will always assume there's this nature versus nurture argument of sports people, and my family, I didn't come from a family where sport was my parents weren't professional athletes, and then when I turned to professional cricket, a lot of people think, oh well, there must have been someone in your family that was good at it, and literally no one, no one there. So and I'm a big believer in you can nurture the ability to go into something. You can work hard at it. You don't have to. You can create the environment that you want to be in if you want to pursue something of sort of success and high performance and excellence. But it really starts from you as a person, if you want it hard enough. And so how did you? Because this event is not. If you're going into marathon running, you're going at one discipline. If you're a professional swimmer, you're going at one discipline, again cycling. But you're going at 3. You're attacking 3, and you've got to be pretty good at all 3. Was there one that you started with, a discipline that you started with? You said running was started as your weakest. So were you a swimmer at heart, a cyclist at heart, or was there?
No, I mean, I started like every Kiwi kid, playing rugby, and but I tried all sports, tennis, badminton, soccer, table tennis. I gave it all a shot, soccer. But went to saw the 1987 Tour de France on TV, and then went to a new school as a fourth former, as a 14-year-old, and they just started a triathlon team there, and they had we had a teacher there called Patsy Lambert, who was really trying to push triathlon. And at secondary school level, the sport was you'd get a couple hundred kids turning up to a school event, so it was starting to thrive, and thanks to probably Rick Wells and Aaron Baker with their success in that. And so there was just so many races around, and it was just a good time to come involved in triathlon. And those early years were pretty cool to start the sport. But I think people have a lot of talent, and can be naturally talented, but talent only gets you so far. And sometimes the most talented athletes I've seen over my career have been, well, a lot of those talented athletes retired, 10, 20 years ago because they relied on their talent. But talent is in other parts, it's not just, being a great swim, bike, or runner. It's, taking care of your nutrition, your being a professional athlete, and just taking care of all those other small things that it's all part of the puzzle. It's and if you don't have that drive to succeed like that, it's you can quickly be undone by this sport. So it's sometimes I've seen the guy in the back corner of the class that worked the hardest. That's the one that can come through in the end. And that guy that was the most talented when he was a 14-year-old, is nowhere to be seen now. So people have to remember that. And just if you work hard and commit to something, then success can, like anything, success will come.
So do you see yourself as that kid in the back corner?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was one of the ones I just shut up and just trained my ass off, and there was no natural talent. It was just I did well, but it was hard work and discipline, and I'm a firm believer of that. If you just work hard at something, success will come. And you probably look at every single athlete out there. They've all done it tough, and they've all pushed on and just tried to maximise what they had at 100%.
Yeah, I used to get people say to me when I was a pro, like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky to do what you do. You're so lucky to be a professional athlete." And I think, like, no, I wasn't luck. Like, it wasn't luck. It was hard work. It was doing the things that when my friends were going partying, I'm not partying, and I'm working. And when there's weddings that are meant to be happening, I'm dedicating myself to the thing. And it's like those little moments where, or if I'm friends are watching TV on the sofa, now I'm going to go and do something that is working myself towards to my goal. And I think that is something that we miss in a lot of young people now, because there's I want to get it straight away. I want to get instant gratification. And I don't think there's probably a discipline like the Ironman. And I'd done a podcast with a guy called Dan Lawson, who's an ultra runner. And when you're talking about the mileage that you guys are doing, there's no quick solution to being good at it. You cannot do it overnight. It's so much hard work and dedication. And have you seen that in, what's it like in sort of the younger generation now with your sport? Is it conflicted in sort of the wanting the success straight away and realizing that there's got to be a build up of hard work you put in?
I think there's a mixture of athletes that you'll always have your super talented, and you'll always have your hard workers that will just grind, and they'll eventually get there, but they just have to have I think belief. And I think if you believe in something that you can achieve it. My goal was a dream, when I watched the first New Zealand Ironman back in 1987 in Auckland, and that was just a dream to try and win that, or compete in it. But that was 20 years down the track then, when I was going to eventually do it. But you just I think I just continue to have passion for the sport, loved it, and just worked hard and just had a lot of discipline. And my mate always used to say, Ironman is greater than the sum of its parts. It's just not swim, bike, run. It's just so many other things that are involved in it. Your nutrition, you're turning up to the pool, not 10 minutes late and right on time, having a drink bottle by the side of your pool, and being organised the night before, and not fluffing around in the morning trying to get all your shit together. It's just being disciplined and going to bed 9 o'clock at night, and not 11 o'clock at night, and not going out, as you said, partying with your mates. And there's sacrifices to be made, but I think if you're willing to do that, but you also have to have fun, and I think athletes that don't enjoy it, then they'll never succeed, and they'll never have a longevity in the sport. You have to, and I've always loved that. I've always loved the sport, and that's been part and parcel of, I think, my success is just going out with your mates and enjoying your training having a plan, having a goal, but mainly, making sure there's a bit of laughter and a bit of banter out there and a bit of bullshit.
What is it? What is it you like most about it? What is it the bit that you enjoy the most about an Ironman? When it's really hurting and you're really feeling it. Like, how do you enjoy it? How do you get to? Where do you find the pleasure in your event?
I don't know. There's not much pleasure. It's just a long grind. We're a short course triathlon. Whether it be an hour Olympic distance, 2 hours, it's just to the max. You're full on effort the whole way. Where an Ironman is just a grind. It's just it's 8 hours, and you're on the rivet. You're close to it, but it's the moment you go over that red line, then you're gonna go over the edge and you'll blow up. But it's a fine line between too hard and then just it's a hard tempo the whole way. And it is amazing, the times, when it first started it was just survival, but now Ironman is just a total race. It's going max in the swim, max on the bike, and max on the run to a level that you sustain for minutes in this 1.5 hour 240 marathon. So it's trying to sustain that level of intensity and not having any spikes, which is extremely hard to do. But you've got to be level-headed and patient and believe in yourself and know what your best discipline is, and you work on your strength. There's fantastic swimmers, there's fantastic bikers and great runners. So they work on their strength they can push, and whether they have a 5-minute lead in the water or 5 or 10 minute lead on the bike, and then or if you're a great runner that you can run down someone with a 5, 10, 15-minute lead. So it's just believing that's in yourself and thinking, right, I can let this guy have this much time.
That's quite interesting. You think of it as belief. I've never really heard anyone talk of an endurance race in believing in it, in themselves, or in trusting in the race. And like you said, your strongest discipline is now your run. What's the fastest marathon time you've run?
I think it was Melbourne when I had a head-on-head with Craig Alexander in 2012, and we ran sort of the first 30. We swam together, we biked together, and then we ran 37 k's of the 42k run, and he won and I was second, and I think he ran a 2:37:40 marathon, and I ran a 2:40 20 or something marathon. So it's pretty fast. Not fast in marathon times, but when you've swum 3.8 k's and ridden 180 k's at your fastest,
that's a hell of a pace for considering what happened before. Because even Dan, like I said, Dan Lawson in this podcast, who's a marathon runner, he had said that what he does, where he's doing 100k plus, 100-mile plus events and 24-hour events, and he's just running and running and running. He said a marathon is far harder on his system because it is a race. It's an assault. It's just how fast can you get from literally A to B, and there's all this stuff in the way, and just go. And he would say like that is so much harder than what I'm doing, because he describes what he does, even though it's like 400k races, one foot in front of the other, and you're like, well, you're not wrong, Dan, but like it's a lot of one foot in front of the other. But what you're doing is pace. Like it's real. It is fueling that Ferrari and making that Ferrari go for 8 hours. It's insane. What I wanted to speak about, because we talk about enjoyment, and there has to be moments where you have downtime. So where do you find like your enjoyment in downtime? How do you? It's so much that you're doing. There's so much intense training and like discipline and stuff like that. How do you give yourself mental headspace? How do you decompress mentally and really switch off?
Yes, I was probably just having a normal life, and having 2 kids. They bring you down to earth pretty quickly. So as soon as you finish swim, biking, and running, then I always tried to finish by 3 o'clock, and you were they were home from school, and then it was taking care of them, and it was we were pretty lucky. My wife, she came on a lot of trips with the kids. We'd go to Noosa or Gold Coast before every time we went to Hawaii for 6 to 8 weeks and train over there, and get out of the Kiwi winter, and so yeah, it was pretty good in those early years. And as the kids had to go, start going to school and that, I stayed more and more at home. But yeah, the trips, they did get harder and harder because you're trying to prepare for a race that's overseas in July. You have to have some time, in 30 degrees, otherwise you're coming out of a New Zealand winter 15 degrees where it's not like an English winter where it's or a European winter where it's minus something. But yeah, we're pretty lucky down here, it's not too bad. But so yeah,
go on, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's there's some tough moments in your life where you've got to leave the family, and then there's some great moments where your family come along to so many events and races and places where it's pretty cool to train.
Yeah, that was going to be my question actually, was about your relationship with your wife then, like, because even with professional cricket, again, it's you've got 4-day matches, and then sometimes you go from a 4-day match onto another one. And I've spent, I mean, I'm not married, but I had partners and girlfriends where I was with them during my career, and I would be away for a month. Sometimes you go longer in the winters. You've gone away for 6, and that takes a real toll on your relationship, that time apart. But you can even be in the country and you're doing X amount of hours on the road, bike, swim in a day. How is she into the sport? Like, was there a strategy that you came up with that would make you manage it? Was there something that you committed to together, or
I think we met when I was 21, she was 21, and so she's grown up with the sport. Jen has been absolutely fantastic, and so yeah, we met when early on in my career when I was 4 years into it, and yeah, she's known me only doing triathlon and nothing else. So it's been a blessing that that's been my job for my whole life. So nothing has changed in that regard. She's only ever known me as a triathlete. So and she's been absolutely supportive in that the whole time. So to have that, that has to be a great partnership, and it has been. So and then we've had 2 great kids that are now teenagers and that, and they've grown up with triathlon as well and competed in it as well. So it's been a family affair with them in the sport as well, and supporting me, and me also supporting them in their sports. So it's been a pretty cool lifestyle. I love every minute of it. That's for sure.
I feel like they're almost going to have to be committed into it. If they were pulling the other direction, you're never going to be able to have either the mental capacity. Yeah. So there must be people out there that are. I had a family member who did an Ironman, and it really took a toll on his relationship. Even in just a few weeks that he was training for it, he wasn't doing it professionally. He was just trying to compete in an Ironman and finish one. But it took a toll, like the time away and just being out on the bike, and couldn't understand how much training was actually going to be in it. So I feel like if you're going to have that support you need around you, it just has to be there. You can't ask for it. You can't I guess you can ask for it in a certain way, and you can say, this is what I would like to do, and so I want to commit myself to it. But yeah, there has to be buy-in from their end.
Definitely. No, it has to be. I mean, that's probably the lucky part of me. It's my job. So as I said, I'd always try and finish by 3 o'clock when the kids came home. I'd be starting early, but they'd be off to school and that. So that was always I'd always try and do that, and then there's trips away that the family can come on. That's fantastic. But a lot of tough times too, where you're separated by 4, 6, 8 weeks sometimes, and but over the last 10 years, it's become more and more. Those trips have become shorter and shorter. So when I go to a race now, it's just it's there for a week and then coming home, and it's just shorter trips. And it's lucky we can do that. We've got so many races around Asia and that. So I used to go to Europe every year and spent a lot of time up there, and so you'd always have Ironman Germany, Ironman Roth, and base yourself in France or Germany or Switzerland. So it was a few tough times like that with competing overseas for a while. But probably nothing like cricket, where where athletes are away for 2-3 months on tour, and that it's it is tough.
Yeah. Whatever, I think whatever length of time you get, like just anything is tough. Like any sort of length of time is, if you want to be at home, if you're young, I think if you're young, it's the best time in your world. Like if you're young and free and single, like it is awesome, because you can just commit 100%. You can be that selfish individual, but life evolves, and you have to have these commitments, and it's how you manage
your job.
How you manage those commitments around what you're doing. Have you ever thought about coaching in what you're doing?
Yeah. So the last sort of 7-8 years, I've had 3 athletes compete in Ironman New Zealand. So
and you're competing with them?
Yes, yeah. So one of them qualified for Kona. She didn't take the spot because she's been many times, but another one was 3rd in her age group, and another one was 4th in her age group. So I'm trying to help out athletes out there as well, and it's something I'll do in the future more and more. But at the moment, I sort of train around 8 to 10 athletes, and so I can give them the most amount of support I can. And but I love it. I enjoy it. I like seeing trying to have the success of done the misdone. You try and help them with and making less mistakes for them, and trying to give them the best program that they can succeed and reach their goals. That's the key for any coach.
Yeah, they're. Do you say they're all from New Zealand?
No, Australia. One from Chile. Anywhere in the world. You're willing to help anyone. So it's. I think there's a lot of athletes now that are coaches. Professional athletes, because the money is if you don't have good sponsorship, and if you're not at the top of the game, then it's pretty tough. So. And I think there's probably going to be a lot more, professional triathlon coaches after the next couple of weeks with COVID. It's we're out of work for the foreseeable future. So it's tough times for any sportsman. So there could be a lot of sportsmen around the world in any sport that are going to be, trying to coach people and help them. There's
so much uncertainty at the moment. Like not many people know what's going to be happening or going on in this time. But it's amazing that you've already been doing that. And I mean, the knowledge that you're going to have just through the consistent performances that you've put in and the results that you've got, like that's a wealth of knowledge. Doing it once, like that's fine, but winning that many times is and competing over. I think the age that you're doing it is the thing. I think that's what sets you out. You're out from everyone else. You're not in your 20s. You're not in your 30s.
No. That's the thing that sort of inspires me now. Trying to keep kicking the young boys' asses. And when I first started, probably when you were 30, that was it. You were pretty much retired. It was like game over. Go and get a real job. And then you had the odd athlete like Dave Scott, that was I think 2nd at 42 in the Hawaiian Ironman, and I won New Zealand Ironman at 43 years of age, and 2nd at sort of 44, 45, and went 8:14 and 3 weeks ago, and probably on the 12 wins, there's probably on two occasions I've only beaten that time. So it's amazing how the sport has continually got faster and faster. Swimming and running, not really, but the biking has been the massive time gains we've seen, with aerodynamics and better bikes. When I first started, we were all on steel chromoly bikes. The positions were terrible, shocking. You only had wheels were 10 probably 10 mils. Your wheels now we're riding on 50, 60, 70, 80 mil wheels. Your bike is just incredibly light. Everything on that bike is carbon fiber, and definitely the aerodynamics have just been a massive, just such gains in that, especially over probably the last 5 years. I'm riding faster than when I won my first Ironman back in 2001, and I was at 28 years of age. Theoretically, if I had the bike back in there that time, I would have been doing the same sort of time. So probably would have been doing it multiple times under 8 hours, because at 47 years of age you're still going this quick. It's quite amazing. But it just comes down to how quick that bike has gotten, how fast and the just the advances that we've seen over that time.
How much have you embraced sort of technological changes? Not obviously bikes have improved. I've spoken to professional cyclists before where they've said there will be there'll ultimately be a limit with bikes where they can't get any faster, they can't get any lighter, they can't get any more aerodynamic. They literally can't move the wheels any faster, so that will be a limiting factor. But how much of, say, like biomechanics in your running and things like that, have you adopted much of that, or were you kind of naturally pretty efficient?
I think I'm very probably efficient for marathon running. That definitely. I think that was one of the key attributes. I think I probably didn't have the leg speed or the leg turnover to be a fast 10K runner or a 5K runner, but probably my running style is just perfect for Ironman, I think. But swimming and running, there hasn't been huge advances, in the swimsuits, but and times and everything, as I said. But with the power meters on the bike, you know exactly what sort of pacing you should be doing. Back when I first started, there was nothing like that at all. It was you had 6 speeds on the rear cassette, 12 speed bikes. Now we're on 22 speed bikes, and you've got every gear under the sun to choose a gear what you want. You've got the disc wheels, the aero bars, the front wheels. The nutrition has been a huge part of racing, getting faster and faster. When back in the day, it was a couple of figs and a couple of bananas would see you right, and and some lollies and some water.
What are you eating now? So what are the things you eat now?
Gels. I've always sort of, on the bike, I'll have probably 10 gels on the bike. You'll have, you'll have a banana, you'll have probably a protein bar, but you have, advances in electrolytes and have come a long way. All your drinks, caffeine. It's
Post race.
Post race, you've got to enjoy some crappy foods. I do the sport to eat. I think you
get the
love
calories
your food.
in.
Yeah, I love my chocolate, love my donuts and pies, and so you do. I think every athlete has their downfalls, and probably every athlete loves their food. And when you have time off, you quickly put on the kilos. It takes a long time to get off, but those kilos they go on pretty quick. So it's not hard to put on 5 kilos in a short amount of time.
I mean the calories you're burning, like that's just flying through it. What do you know what calories you're burning in an Ironman to?
No, I've never worked it out, but it isn't. It's someone's. I think it's like burning the equivalent of 15 Big Macs. There's a massive amount of energy, So to eat what you can burn on that day is quite incredible. So
it's insane, isn't it? That's
it is amazing what your body can what it can survive on. You can go out on a 6-hour ride and and burn fat for a long period of that time, but you still need to fuel it with good electrolytes and proteins and carbs. Carbs are still, I think, king. I'm not into fad diets and I've just been same old, and it's worked for me. So I'll stick to what has worked and what I've done well on.
Stick with what you're doing, mate. Whatever it is, it's working. What is your what I think we just finish off, and the last thing I want to say was what's sort of your goals now? What do you want to achieve now moving forward?
Probably just to stay healthy and fit, and but I'd love to be still competing as a professional when I'm 50. That's 2 years and 2 months away, so I'm sure I can be, and the way my body is going, I'm sure I can still be competing at an extremely high level. 3 weeks ago at Ironman New Zealand, to go 8 hours and 14 minutes as a 47-year-old is, I never thought I'd be going that quick. So, and that was, on a very, very limited build-up. I only had 5 weeks of running, so I know if I had a perfect build-up, I would have gone so much quicker. So that's exciting, and but staying injury free is the goal over the next few months. Get this calf right, and the goals of, have to be, reset again with not knowing when we're going to be able to race. It's going to be, I cannot see us racing this year.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's going to be so many restrictions on where you can fly. Countries are so far. Some countries are, China's only just sort of starting to come right and seeing a little bit of, outside progress. But I think, any mass gatherings in sporting events are just not going to happen. And sadly, in a triathlon, we all have to start pretty much together. And, so there's going to be a lot of boundaries on that. And until we get an antivirus for this, the coronavirus, then it's going to be a long, sadly, a long time before we race. I think it may be just domestic racing. So you might be just racing in your own country until we do get an antivirus. So, and it could be the same for any sport around the world. It just might be domestic competitions until an antivirus comes up. So it's for I feel for every athlete out there. I'm probably a 47-year-old that's a couple of years away from retirement, but as a young athlete, that we're looking forward to the Olympic Games and qualifying, all that. It's a sad time in sport and any job. There's been so many people affected by it, so it is a tough time for anyone.
Yeah,
so, I hope we can all get onto it and kick its bloody ass out of the door and be back to normal.
100%.
I think mental health is going to be crucial in the next. People need to exercise and get out there and stay healthy and having those goals, I think, are so important. It might be walking a couple of K down the road or running or jogging or biking, but just having a goal every day through this period is going to be crucial.
I think that's such a good point. The mental health that we're facing with this coronavirus and how much, I mean, we're not talking that you have to go out and do 80 Ks on a bike, but
no.
just the wanting to get outside. I think getting outside is some of the stuff that I've seen on like your Instagram when you post on your stories of like the scenery you're going through on your bike rides, and I can tell you're enjoying it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have posted it. And like, there's something about training outside. There's nothing beats it. I like running, but I really do like cycling because I feel with cycling you get to see a lot more. But with that, it's actually the scenery that is that. Yes, there's the discipline in the training that you're doing and putting in the Ks on the bike and you're building your body stronger. But when you get to a certain point and you can kind of look up and look around and you've got some incredible countryside, whether it's here in Australia, Hawaii, or could be in Europe, even in England. Like, there are moments when England looks beautiful. Believe me, it will stop raining and it will look pretty. And
definitely.
But that mental health that we're talking about for people right now, being stuck at home, it's hard. Like, that is a hard time. And
I mean, we're lucky, we're not as bad as Italy or Spain, where they're just completely locked down. But it's also, it's sharing those moments with, I love going out with the mates and training with them, and we just talk crap all day and just have fun out there, and not being able to do that. Every run is listening to music on your iPods and just it's everything's going through the mind and head, and so to have that run, and whether it be 4 weeks, 6 weeks with your mate, is going to be so much fun. And just I really miss that already, and we're week 1 into it, so it's tough, but you're going to be very, very thankful when this is over and we can start seeing people again and interacting like normal human beings, that what we love to do.
I think it will give people a much better perspective on their physical and mental health. I think it'll give people that gratitude for being able to go outside, that enjoying that physical activity, enjoying whether it's just that mental headspace that you get, whatever it is that you do, but really not taking it for granted anymore. That's
just that
something
freedom.
That we've lost our freedom, and so we will be more. I think you're right. I think we will be better off for it. It's like a reset. It's a good little reset for everyone. Cam,
we'll appreciate things a lot more after this.
Totally, Cameron, look, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for
thanks, Lewis. Thank you.
but yeah, I look forward to seeing more of the stuff you're doing. I really hope you're still competing at 50. I've no doubt you will. Like, no doubt you will. And
I'll be competing. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Love it.
really appreciate it, mate. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Lewis.